Hello, my name is Adriana Aravena-Jokelainen. I'm a legal counsel with the Arbitration Institute of the Finland Chamber of Commerce, FAI. Today I am going to interview Ms. Carita Wallgren-Lindholm, Finland's most international arbitrator according to Who's Who Legal. The interview is organized by the Nordic-Baltic chapter of the Spanish and Ibero-American Arbitration Club, Club Español del Arbitraje, for Club Español del Arbitraje y Mujeres Internacional. I will start this interview with the following question. How did it start? Why did you choose arbitration? How was the world of arbitration in Finland at that time?
I will answer you, Adriana, but first I will say buenos días a todos y a todas. Mucho gusto.
That's right.
Okay, good. Now, how did it all come about? I think that my career was never very linear. It came about maybe a bit haphazardly, but I actually, before I went to law school, I studied languages, French and English, and then international politics, and I actually wanted to become a diplomat. But I think at that time the foreign ministry wasn't really interested in profiles like me, and then I went to law school, and thereafter I think the orientation was international. I wanted to do something international, and there was a professor at Helsinki University, Professor Jokela, who was very interested in arbitration, and it interested me too because it was cross-border, and at that time people of my age often went into international arbitration from private international law and comparative law.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote my thesis many moons ago on ICC awards.
Okay.
That's how it started.
Okay, and how was the arbitration landscape in Finland at that time in comparison to other Nordic countries and other countries in Europe or the USA?
The arbitration has always been an accepted form of dispute resolution in Finland, in particular when it comes to construction. And I remember that there were much activity in the arbitration field. However, I think that the construction world was rather masculine, and that I guess also was the situation for most business law firms, because I certainly didn't have the profile for a Finnish business law firm either, because I was presumed, also because I had studied languages, to not be business savvy. And that's why then eventually I went to Paris to start work, because Paris was more welcoming at that time for a young female lawyer.
Okay, that's interesting. How was your arbitration experience in France in the early 80s, I understand?
Well, I guess I was carrying the briefcase of Chris Seppälä. But
how did you know Chris Seppälä beforehand?
No, I didn't. I actually went to another law firm, a law firm that is now Jones Day. And then Chris Seppälä, who was doing arbitration, as we know, in construction, and of course has a connection to Finland. And his senior associate lawyer at the time was Eric Schwartz, who then, of course, became the Secretary General of the ICC. Chris had heard that I was in Paris, and he said, okay, let's see if we can recruit a Finnish lawyer. And then he recruited me to his then law firm.
And you were counsel. What was your?
Yes, I mean, I guess I was some form of trainee or stagiaire, because I wasn't, I think, a conseil juridique proper at the time. But I did work on cases, yes. I mean, I worked on my first ICC arbitration.
Okay, okay. So, and then you returned to Finland at some point.
Yeah. I returned to Finland. I was married, and I thought I wanted to start a family, but also I felt that I didn't really get my hands dirty in Paris, do you understand? It was a bit like being a diplomat, maybe, and not really doing the hard stuff. So I came to Finland and I had a baby, and then I applied and I was hired by Rocher.
Okay. That it was in
84.
84. Okay. Okay.
Yes, it was in 84, but they of course said, young lady, here we don't have the privilege of doing international arbitration, so you better do corporate work, which I'm happy I did.
So you were an associate lawyer at Rocher in the beginning, and then a partner.
Yes, I was from 89. I was a partner, and I was at Rocher at 2008. When I do what arbitrators do, I went boutique.
You had your own practice.
Yeah.
And but when did you get your first appointment as an arbitrator?
I think it was late 80s or early 90s. And it was the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce. You know, institutions have always been on the forefront of trying to have more women in arbitration, and it was the SEC that appointed me. I think party appointments came much later, because I think the same conservatism or the idea that I couldn't possibly be business savvy, I think made corporates not choose a woman as a wing arbitrator. That has changed now generally, and for me personally that is different.
Oh, that's great to hear. I think we met in 2005.
Yes.
And then I had the privilege to work with you in some arbitrator assignments where you have been appointed an arbitrator, mainly SEC arbitration. Yes, and what kind of professional qualities and skills should a good arbitrator have?
That of course is a topic that we could discuss a lot. I also think that there are certain qualities that all arbitrators need to have, and then of course the notion of diversity means that there's also different qualities that give rise to a cocktail whereby a tribunal is a good functional whole. I think I would single out three things. One, you need to know how to listen and listen actively. I think that's very hard. I very quickly start wanting to say something, so I think learning to listen, that comes with age. The second thing I think is to really be open to different cultures and legal cultures. And I think that this is a challenge for many also very prominent arbitrators. They have these concepts in their head, how it should be and how it should sound like. And when they listen to somebody not at all eloquent, if they come from a culture where plaidoirie is hailed, then they don't understand somebody very laconic, and vice versa. If you come from a culture like Finland, where facts speak for themselves, you don't need big gestures or repetition. I think that to be able to really embrace different ways of pleading a case is important. And I think The third is courage. You have to be courageous and also really not care whether you're liked or not. And what I certainly get very disappointed and sad when I see, where I also see that arbitrators cater to many audiences in a room, in view maybe of their future. That goes for lawyers generally, but also I think for arbitrators, I think that is very sad to watch.
Do you think postgraduate degrees in arbitration, LLM programs, special courses help in furthering the arbitrator's career?
Yes, of course. But it also depends a bit how and what you've studied. I think that the most important thing is to get the comparative aspect. And of course, if you've studied in a rather monolithic system, you have to go out and see the other systems and understand where people are coming from. So of course the answer is yes. And also that's how you learn languages. I am a bit obsessed with languages, partly because that was really my first interest and it still is. But I do think that people sometimes underestimate what it takes to have a good linguistical capability to write, for example, to write an award, and what is really the international level of good English and what is good English domestically. I think that they are different animals. And for example, as you know, I studied as my major at the university French, and I think that still today I speak French, I read French and I write French, but I would probably, and I have not accepted a chairmanship in French. I would be as a wing, but not a chair, because I don't think still that my French would reach the level that is required. So don't underestimate what good language is.
You have very good language skills. I read Swedish, native tongue, Finnish, English, French, Spanish also.
Well, my Spanish is getting rusty, but I had, because of having studied French and I also studied Latin for many years, obviously, Spanish comes easy, and if you're interested in something, it comes easy. But I certainly haven't practiced my Spanish in many years, but maybe I can correct that.
Have you sat in arbitrations where the language of arbitration is Spanish?
I have sat where we heard witnesses in Spanish, for example, where I listened without interpretation. So I guess passively at least, yes.
Very good, excellent. Do you think that the international arbitrations landscape has changed over the years? I mean, if you compare 1970s and today.
Of course, I would say that it is much more professional, systematic. There are courses, master course in Geneva and in Stockholm. I also would say that the competition is much harder. There are lots of young people there with extraordinary credentials and many degrees. So the competition is very hard. Then I also think obviously there is arbitration as a phenomenon. Obviously there is a convergence and of systems, so it is much more sophisticated and professional. When I studied, everything or many things were novelties.
Okay, so you were a pioneer in that sense.
No, I wouldn't use that word, but you can turn it around and say there weren't many at that time. So in a way, though I must say that my career probably took much longer than any young people today would be prepared to wait. Maybe also there were fewer people who were focused on arbitration, so maybe it was easier in that sense. But I'm not going to tell all the anecdotes about what the attitude was.
But maybe you can tell one anecdote.
Well, I would tell from Finland. One thing that most people today will really almost not believe me. When I said that in Stockholm for very long they've had arbitrator training, you can apply. And now that is offered by your organization today. When I raised that maybe 20 years ago, the attitude here was, what are you talking about? We did this on our own. These were, of course, they were not women saying this. We did this on our own. Why would we need to train people to do this? They can make their own way. And ideas like mentoring and training and all this was frowned upon, which of course today seems unimaginable.
Carita, could you tell us about your experience as a member of the ICC International Court of Arbitration and as chair of the ICC Commission on Arbitration and ADR?
Yes, they are of course partly very different things. I think that the ICC Court is probably one of the best training grounds to understand and to calibrate, to see what goes on in the world of arbitration, because you're engaged as a member of the court in the scrutiny of awards and you learn a lot. So I was there for the 3 + 3 years that are appropriate, and I think it's a limit today, and I thought that was an excellent training ground also because the people that you work with are among the best in the field. Now, the Commission, I have been a member, or I'm not a member anymore after I left as a chair, but since 96, and then I was a vice president for 11 years. ICC has been a bit like home for me, and when I was chair, obviously as a Nordic person, I think I have had a strong driver, yes, for exclusiveness and non-hierarchical, attitude, and getting everybody to speak their mind and to offer their qualitative insights regardless of their position in the organization. I think as the chair of the ICC Commission, the same rules apply as when you sit as an arbitrator. You have to listen to legitimate needs and interests of people regardless from where they come, because there are legitimate perspectives on things from different parts of the world.
That's true.
Yeah.
I also read on your CV that you have been appointed by the government of the Republic of Finland to serve on the panel of arbitrators maintained by the ICSID.
Yeah.
And also a member of its panel of conciliators.
Yes.
Have you served in any ICSID case? As an arbitrator or conciliator?
Currently, probably on more committees, and also in an arbitration I'm chairing administered by ICSID. This is public information. Yes, I think that probably I spend more time now in ICSID related matters than in commercial arbitration. but I started off with commercial arbitration, so I believe also I am still learning, but I am very impressed by ICSID and by its secretariat.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so I think there is someone from the SEC now in ICSID, some Celeste.
From the SEC.
She was Celeste.
Yes, oh yes.
Yeah. And she's Chilean, so that is why I remember.
I know that. She left and she's back now.
Okay, that's great to hear.
Yeah, she's a very nice person.
Yes.
Too. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm very professional.
Yes. From a female perspective, what do you think is the best way to promote female participation in arbitration?
Well, I've always said, and I'll say it again, that if you're in a law firm, the best way is, of course, that your firm takes you in arbitration teams, right, and gets you to participate. Then, of course, there's always a conflict if you want to sit as an arbitrator again, because there is no leverage for the firm if you sit as an arbitrator, so often firms don't want you to sit so much as an arbitrator. The way to promote yourself if you're an academic, I think, is the usual way. You write articles, you are on panels, and try to get your first appointment, which is often, of course, the hurdle. I do think today that the awareness of the importance to also have sufficient diversity, not only gender diversity, but also regional diversity and other diversity in arbitration, makes everybody very aware. So I think today, soon, the way to promote young arbitration practitioners, male or female, I think are alike.
That is very good to hear. What would be your advice for young arbitration practitioners, especially women who wish to become arbitrators?
I mean, it's excellent credentials, hard work. What else is new? You have to have certain base features. You have to have good linguistic skills. I go to the same thing, to be articulate, clarity in expression, courage, but also, and this is one of the points I always make, I do not believe that women always excel by the same qualities as men excel. And I think the most important thing is that women build on their innate strengths and are not coached to a behavior that doesn't come naturally. I saw that when I was growing up, that you kind of wanted to make women more assertive, and I know that this is a controversial topic. I personally still believe that there can be some authority and impact by lowering your voice. And also I think, and I often say this, that authority has many faces. So I don't think that there is one size fits it all, how to have a good profile. And the important thing is that you identify what you're good at and you build on those strengths.
Perfect. How do you see the future of arbitration in general and of female participation in arbitration in particular?
I think female participation in arbitration, that's an easier. I think that will eventually be equal. I think today, I remember when it was an ICSID annulment committee, I think, where we were 3 women on it, and it kind of hit the headlines. And now I don't think it will hit the headlines anymore. So I think that is okay. Then the future of arbitration, as we know, there are many challenges. There is cost, and when it comes to investment arbitration, you know that it's under pressure politically and also by civil society. And in that sense, I think that arbitration can be at the crossroads. There is AI, of course. There are many factors that need to be thought and rethought. I also think that there are many good people out there who are thought leaders who will rethink it. But humility is needed, and of course we need to speak outside of our own tribe and not only to one another. But I think arbitration isn't going anywhere, but there needs to be a lot of rethinking.
With all your experience, looking back, is there anything you would have done differently?
No.
Everything is perfect.
No, it's not at all perfect. On the contrary, it is not linear, and it goes here and there, and lots of stuff I did, I think a lot of people think that were completely unnecessary.
But that's the beauty of life.
I think that it does not hurt, if you sit as an arbitrator, to have lived and to know what life is all about. So I would recommend against such a focused ambition that you only focus on your academic career and your professional skills.
Yeah. When you're not arbitrating or working, how do you spend your spare time?
I guess it's important to take care of yourself. So what do? I walk the dog in the forest. I get on horseback from time to time. I also walk the dog in the beach because I also live in a place that has more beaches than what is offered year round here. I do yoga and tennis and what we do to stay reasonably fit. My inspiration I get from reading fiction, and I can mention to you as a Chilean that one of my favorite authors is Isabel Allende, because of the surrealism that she offers us and how she gets us dreaming and her fantasy. So yes, the problem of course with books is that once you take them into your hand, they're difficult to put down.
Okay, that's true. That's true. So thank you, Carita, for your time. I appreciate, and also the Finland Chamber of Commerce. We are sitting here at their premises and the Nordic Baltic chapter of the Spanish and Ibero-American Arbitration Club. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adriana, and it's nice to come home from time to time. Thank you.